Jay says, saw some more inaccurate info in the wide receiver room today. Apparently, we lost our best receiver and won't be able to replace him this year. Yeah, that's kind of the reality of when you, especially this time of year, and it's very obvious when people don't know what they're talking about. Like when you read some of these kind of pieces on Clemson and what they look like offensively, and this is no disrespect to they're more than likely talking about Bo Collins. I I don't. Bo Collins was not your best wide receiver last year, so
Nope.
I just and
No, he was
I
not.
think he's in. I think him transferring to Notre Dame. I think that was a good move for him. Um, I would have. It would have been nice to have Bo back. He's played a lot of football. He's experienced, but was not your best receiver. And there were a couple other guys on the team that gave you a little bit more juice um, from the wide receiver position when healthy. So, but I do hate that it didn't really work out with it never really came all fully together for Bo, because I thought the potential was there for sure. Um, you saw what he did as a true freshman in a really difficult year for Clemson offensively, and he made a lot of plays. But sophomore year couldn't really stay on the field, and then last season a little bit more of the same, just the inconsistency, cause struggling with drops at times. Like it never fully came together for him. So uh, it was kind of just one of those things. Like, well, a change of scenery might be what's best.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's just the national media narrative when it goes around Clemson, right? Nobody can name a Clemson receiver. They lost their best receiver to Notre Dame via the transfer portal. Dabo doesn't do the transfer portal, so nobody knows anything about Clemson wide receivers anymore. But it's just not the case. We've outlined it, I think, at length on this channel, Jordan, when it comes to the wide receiver core and how we feel about it and the pieces that we have coming back. And maybe that's true that nobody in the national media knows anybody's name. They should at least
Yeah,
know Antonio Williams' name. They should at least know Tyler Brown's name. They should, know a couple of these guys' names that kind of played pivotal roles last season. But I think by the end of the season, there'll be a lot different feelings about our wide receiver core. At least I hope so. Because if not, that means our offense did not take a step forward. We have
right.
a very deep wide receiver room, and there should be no reason that our passing game doesn't look vastly different than it did last season.
Yeah, absolutely. And but it's easy once if you're not tuned into the program, it's easy once you hear a narrative repeated over and over again. Clemson doesn't have receivers. Clemson doesn't have receivers. Clemson doesn't have receivers. Like that's just you're just going to regurgitate that opinion whether it's true or not. And so that's kind of been one of the things that you know from a perception standpoint that Clemson is just going to have to deal with and battle and prove wrong this year, because I don't the, Clemson is not lacking in the receiver room. Not this year. In past seasons, um, especially 2021. Um, yeah, I got you. 2022. Yeah, I got you to a degree. But last season, I don't think the receivers were the reason why the offense wasn't successful. And this year, with everything you have coming back and what you've added, um, this group is in really really good shape, and then there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, absolutely. Ton of potential, but we'll see how it plays out on the field this year.
All right. Tiggs asks, has anyone studied up on how many transfer players stay at the school they transferred to for more than 2 years? That'd be an interesting kind of deep dive. I would imagine no, because I do think the players tend to transfer later. Even nowadays with the one time transfer rule, players still tend to the bulk of transfers are you know older like upperclassmen. Um, and so I wouldn't imagine that they stay for longer than 2 years, but it depends because you do have true freshmen that come in and and maybe in a lot of cases they haven't even gone through a full season. They go through spring practice and they're in the portal already. So, but yeah, I'd be really interested to see something like if any research were to come out. Um, that would take a lot of time because there's literally thousands of players in the portal each cycle. So it would be a very difficult thing to track. But um, yeah, I'd like to see some numbers on that.
Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in seeing numbers on that, but that seems like it would be very time consuming and difficult to put together.
Yeah. Jackson asks, he says it feels weird that Clemson Stanford is a conference game. Yeah, man, you and me both. I really don't know how to feel about it. Stanford coming to the Valley, like that's going to be something, yeah, for sure. It is what it is. That's what college football is in 2024.
I'm just glad we don't have to go to Stanford. Like, I mean,
Yeah, I'm glad we're not the ones traveling there.
as weird
Yeah,
as it is, I'm glad they're the one traveling all the way across the country and not us.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, that's where we are. There are teams traveling to Cal this year, traveling to SMU. That's what the ACC is, for the All Coast Conference. All right. Talking about Tyler Brown. Yeah, really excited. I'm really excited about Tyler Brown in year two. John, hits on Adam Randall, who is, I think he's the biggest wild card in this entire room because if he, breaks out, then all bets are off on what this team is capable of. Because then you have a true outside threat, and with his combination of size and speed, like that's and he's making catches and he's confident. I think that's one of the things that he struggled with last year was just kind of getting his feet back under him and getting the confidence to really attack every single route and kind of have that motor that Dabo has talked about in the past regarding him. It's like the motor wasn't always running at 100%, but when he is, he's one of the best players on the team. Um, so if we can get that version of Adam Randall, I think you saw glimpses of that in the bowl game. Like then, yeah, this offense is going to be really. It takes a lot of pressure off of the true freshmen who are definitely more bound. They can play anywhere, but they're obviously boundary type receivers as well. Um, and it opens a lot of things up for the other guys, the Antonio Williams and the Tyler Browns, the Troy Stellatos, the Cole Turners. It just everything kind of you have a really complete and dynamic wide receiver room if Adam Randall can be that consistent outside threat for you. So I'm obviously it's a kind of a believe it when I see it at this point because you just it's been we were kind of waiting on it last year and it just never fully happened. But man, I'm not selling my Adam Randall stock by any means. Um, and so I'm really excited about what he can be. With a full off season of health and of a full vote of confidence from the staff. That I think that he has the potential to have a breakout year.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's his spot to either take grasp of and run with, or it's his spot to lose, right? And he's a guy that could absolutely change the perception and the production of this offense this coming season, he's got the all the physical ability. We just got to see it on the field, like you said, man. But like you, I'm not selling stock in Adam Randall. I'm not saying he's going to break out and be a, you know, 800,000-yard receiver this year either.
Right.
But I think he's capable of being that go-to big-time possession guy for Clemson. We just haven't seen it yet, and maybe we see it this season. I certainly hope we do, because if we're getting that kind of production out of him, the rest of the guys are going to be able to eat as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there were opportunities like you saw, like it wasn't like Adam Randall wasn't, getting open. Like there were countless times where he was, where he got open, and sometimes a lot of times it wasn't even on him, but it just the reality is it wasn't always there, and um, I think that's a part of what Dabo was talking about with just getting him to fully uh, attack every single rep with the same intensity.